Hi there, and thank you for joining XROM, India's first AR/VR podcast. It was a complete pleasure speaking with Gautam Tewari, who is an architect by profession and the founder CEO at Smartvizx and co-founder CPO at Trezi, a virtual reality platform company that is working on disrupting the AEC industry. So Smartvizx is one of the few XR startups from India that has got funded. We spoke about the impact of COVID-19 on the immersive tech industry, the investment landscape for XR startups, and India's growing AR/VR industry. I wish you enjoyed this conversation. So tell me the story, that the people don't know about you. How did you get into virtual reality? And how did the startup happen? And what was the difficulties, the challenges, and the opportunities in the AR/VR sector?
So first and foremost, Eddie, thanks for having me over. I really appreciate your effort in terms of what you're doing for the industry. The technology, despite the fact it's so useful, immersive technology, it's just still so early in its stage of development that it needs platforms and forums like yours. Mm-hmm. So thanks for that. So coming to your question, it's an interesting, very interesting set of events actually made me run into VR as a technology. And when I did look at it at the max possible depth that I could, and this I'm talking about year 2015, 2016, when the Oculus used to be that bulky development kit, DK2 days, the purpose of looking at VR back then was really very simple. I am actually an architect. I have, and not a software architect, I'm a building architect, right? So I have dabbled in terms of new initiatives in the profession for a good part of my 2 decades that I spent in as a practicing architect, and then part of some of the largest design firms across the Asia Pacific region. Now, one thing that always troubled me was the fact that the way we communicated our design to our clients always was through this very static and passive way of working. Basically what I mean by that is they are 2D drawings, then there are 3D stills, and you just kind of put all of this in front of your clients and you expect them to understand it the way you are able to because of your 5 years of education and the number of years that you've spent in the profession. So in a nutshell, it was just not making any sense for our clients because they were not understanding what we were trying to communicate to them. And I used to work with some of the largest firms across, like I said. So this was a huge problem to be solved. And I always believed that during the course of my discussions with my fellow professionals and peers and friends, that if there was a way of putting in the customer or the clients and other parts of the ecosystem inside of the design and then interact with each other, that would be a clear and sure shot winner. And that's exactly what the journey that we started out with Smartvizx in 2016 when we founded the company. Now, when we founded the company, we started just like any other VR startup during that time did, that it was a very services. So you've got a problem, come and tell us what your problem is. We'll create a VR environment for you and we'll send it back to you built on Unity or Unreal or whatever be it. And this would cost you a few $100,000 and a few weeks. Nothing was either democratized in terms of its use or was it pocket friendly at all, in terms of the solution that was provided. And my real journey was not that. I always wanted to create a technology, a dent in the ecosystem, which would help people pick up something new and work with that. And with Trezi in 2018, now Smartviz kind of did what it did for 2 years. We kind of created solutions. We had the best possible clients. We had international customers. We had a customer out of Chicago. We had customer out of Dubai. So it was a very fulfilling, enriching 2 years that we spent in the services mode. Also, it contributed to our journey of understanding how a product might shape up and what that product would be that people will be happy to use. And with Trezi in early 2019, we have been able to do that. We have very proud to share that for the building industry, we are India's first virtual reality product per se, which is a SaaS-based product. People use it on their own. So we've got top 50% of the top 50 Indian architects using it already. We've got international architects using Trezi now, international construction companies using Trezi now. So our journey towards making that product has kind of taken shape. And now we are actually trying to build a platform, an immersive platform for the building industry, not a platform like yours where people connect, but a building platform where building product manufacturers and architects connect with each other and they talk to each other and finalize design, select products using the power and strength of immersive technology.
Lovely. How cool is that? I mean, so start from your conversation. You said you yourself are an architect. I guess any entrepreneur who's helping himself is a sure shot winner because, your background was as an architect and you were trying to help yourself and obviously you saw the challenges. And you wanted to solve those problems. The 2D medium, which was a block, with your industry, you said, that's this technology which can push drive the conversation and make you jump from the 2D medium into the 3D world, where you could actually interact with the world rather than be restricted to just a piece of paper or blueprint. You get or jump into the 3D medium, right? So how cool is that? And congratulations for moving from just being a services-oriented company to Trezi, starting your product. Extremely happy for you. And I guess, we need more of such companies making India proud. And it's about time an Indian AR/VR company, basically an Indian tech company that goes global, and wish you the very best for it. Yes, can you share a little bit more details on Trezi? Now, Smartvizx was a service-based. Now you're saying Trezi is a product-based, which is servicing. Can you get in what the journey, how it happened, what is it doing right now, what is the future plans for Trezi?
Sure. Yeah. So, like I said, the services journey was extremely fulfilling, knowledge creating 2 years for us. And I honestly feel that had we not done those 2 years, we would have not had a product today. One, because we were able to work with our customers who kind of validated this hypothesis of ours that, the key hypothesis that we started out the product with was that, the industry, the architectural fraternity actually wants a better medium to be able to experience their own designs and communicate own designs and even collaborate with partners in the ecosystem. And by partners, I mean there are product manufacturers and there are contractors and subcontractors and engineering consultants, right? So that was our hypothesis. So every time we got an opportunity to work on a VR services project, we also, along with that, got the opportunity to validate our hypothesis. So I can tell you, and I'm not trying to sound brash about it, we would have done over 200 services projects, Eddie, and none of our customers ever said that, hey, listen, you're on a wild goose chase. This is not something that the industry needs. Everybody, each one of them said the state of technology has been abysmal. We need to change the state of technology. And if we are able to kind of get our hands on a product that is going to create for us what you are creating for us right now, that is a sure shot winner. So what I'm trying to say is that it was the product journey, the product pivot for Smartvizx was actually necessitated by our customers. And we got the opportunity to build the product with a lot of direct feedback from our potential customers itself. So I remember in early 2019, early 2018, we were contemplating, we were close to product launch. We were not sure because it was still kind of, first and foremost, it was a very early stage sort of a product. But more importantly, it was being tested by the experts inside the organization more than outside. So we put out an early access preview sort of a program, and we asked about 25 firms that, hey, we are going to launch an early access program. Would you like to be a part of it? Thinking that we will have at least 50% rejecting it and we'll handpick 10 and work with them for say period of 6 months and shape the product into being far more commercially relevant. You won't believe it. All 25 of them said we want to be a part of this early access program. Of course, there were financial benefits that we were saying that, hey, this is what the subscription price is going to be for the first 6 months. We'll give you a discount, etc. But we did not expect all 25 of them to say yes, that we want to be a part of this early access program. So that was the second validation that came our way fairly early. So from a 6-month sort of a tenure that we were trying to give the EAP, early access preview program, that we planned to run it for, we ran it for 3 months. And then after 3 months, we actually told all the 10 that we had handpicked that, okay, it's time for you to now go onto the paid subscription. Would you now kind of go on to the full-blown price, that we are offering? And there, again, we had an 80% conversion, So we were hoping for, 4 or 5 of them to kind of come and pay that $2,000 annual or $2,400 annual cost. But all of them agreed to come onto the 80% of them, came onto the paid program. Came onto the paid program, and the two that did not, basically they did not simply because they had a very different way of working, which they realized during the duration that the EAP ran. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that Trezi as a product got built along with its customers. So the feedback came from customers. We kind of brought that back into the roadmap. We showed our customers that we are here to create a product that is going to work for you the way you want it to work for you. And that is really how it kind of started selling. And from there, now, today, we've got, like I said, early part of our conversation, we have over 120 odd paid customers running it now.
Right.
We would have actually finished at about 250, 300, but unfortunately, all the 144 deals that were sitting in our final quarter pipeline due to the COVID situation, it just kind of got shifted by a quarter or two. I don't know when it's going to open up, but people have started buying again. That's that we'll talk about that during the course of this conversation. But now we are selling to the architects already. The big jump that we are able to do and bring about is the product manufacturers. They have started listing their products on Trezi platform. So the shape of the platform has started taking shape. So we've got people like Wellspun Flooring, we've got Schneider Electric, we've got Blue Star Air Conditioning, we've got Cubic Furniture, one of the local NCR-based furniture supplies pan-India. He's come onto the platform. We had Cherry Hill Interiors, and we recently ran a webinar also where all these leaders of the industry were really gracious enough to come and talk about, one, the state of the industry in the face of the lockdown, but also the relevance of Trezi for them, So that's been the big journey. So customers are talking about Trezi now rather than us needing to kind of go out and talk. So that's been a really, really fulfilling sort of a journey for us over the past 18 months.
Lovely. How cool is that? And I think any of the startups or developers or any entrepreneurs who are listening it, I think that the take should be that built along with the customers. When we build along with the customers, that there's obviously that the future is going to look very bright. And when you said that you're building a platform company, I thought you're just sowing the seeds. You already have got things down. You've got your partners onboarded. So that's brilliant, and we should more success for that. So tell me, with COVID-19, there's this huge conversation going on with your remote education, remote healthcare, your remote work, remote meeting and stuff like that. So virtual reality being the technology which is got all of those capabilities packaged inside to drive the conversation of all of these industries forward, right? So how do you think is COVID-19 impacting the immersive tech industry, specifically the business that you are in, the architecture, engineering, construction space, because that seems to be on downfall at this point in time. But with virtual reality, it still looks like business continuity, right? At least from my side. Could you shine some light on that?
Yeah, so you pick up a very pertinent point. And I was just having a chat with somebody yesterday. It was, I think, one of the investors has sought us out and again wanted to understand how the business was shaping up. And I was having a chat with them that, when we started this venture in 2016, there was a lot of excitement around virtual reality per se, And I still remember we were counted amongst one of the 140 odd VR startups that were there in India alone. Forget the world. In India alone, there were about 140 odd startups. Today, I can actually, if we both sit down and start making a list, we would not be able to count more than 50. And out of those 50, maybe 6 or 7 would probably have a product business, and the others would all be services oriented. So the understanding around VR, specifically in India, actually the world over, VR has continued to grow, and you would know these numbers better than I do. That's why you have the platform that you have created. So world over, the number of VR users kind of kept growing. Of course, they were not at that bullish level that it was projected back in 2015, 2016 when Facebook acquired the Oculus Rift for that couple of $1 billion, right? But the key point here being that Indian ecosystem, for some reason, thought VR has tanked and VR has not worked, but that was absolutely not the truth. Now, unfortunately, but the reality is, unfortunately, the pandemic has brought immersive technology to the fore again. Because we can't meet, we can't visit each other, so we have to kind of virtually look at each other. And design work does not happen on Zoom. So while this sort of a interaction is very useful on Zoom or Google Meet, whatever, but from a design review, product selection perspective, you still need to kind of look at the 3D models, look at the design models, and be able to interact in them. And that is where Trezi's relevance really grows. And Trezi has got an immersive collaboration offering. So we could have actually done this meeting inside of Trezi right now, because in Trezi you can speak, but we would have been able to see each other as avatars. We would have not been seeing each other as Eddie and Gautam, but avatars of Eddie and Gautam. But, so here, now suddenly, towards March, mid or early April rather, the number of free trials and the number of customers who are coming back to us, hey, now we want to use Trezi, has just skyrocketed. It is, while the buying sentiment is still low and people are still kind of not cutting the check, but people wanting to look at Trezi, people wanting to get Trezi into their workflow and use Trezi's collaborative offerings, we are struggling to keep up with the number of demos that we're doing right now. So, point I was trying to make was, it's unfortunate that the pandemic had to give it the push, but it has definitely given it enough push for people to want and understand technology better. And as they understand and get their hands dirty with it, they realize it's a fairly simple technology to work with. And it's actually, when you're immersed in an environment, it's magical, So it's been, it's silly when I say this, I feel pretty bad, but it's been a good time for us, this lockdown.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. I mean, there has been positives and there's negatives of the COVID-19, and the negatives, obviously, everybody knows about. The positives are like, besides the push drive, which immersive technology and the exponential technology has got. And it's not just immersive technology. I mean, with the COVID-19 situation, people are using drones for contactless delivery. There's automated vehicles, and all of these technologies are being pushed, and virtual reality being that tool which was anyway giving you an experiential based, it's an experiential based technology. So yes, I mean it's driving that conversation forward. And besides that, there's also, I mean, you look at the positives. I mean, we're just talking about the negatives and positives. The positives are, I mean, finally we have a world which is got cleaner air. Which I mean, you're not constantly being disturbed by the honking and the people, right. Things. So there's obviously there's good sides and the bad sides of COVID-19. You're talking about investors. You're just mentioning that there's a couple of investors who are connected with you because they understand that right now, I mean, technology is being driven at the forefront, and a tool like virtual reality and what you guys are offering could really solve a lot of problems, especially in your sector. So tell me, I mean, for those startups who are listening, what would be your advice to them if they're looking at investment? Let
me first try to answer this from a perspective of COVID or no COVID. So let's just keep the lockdown and the world slowing down aside, and let's talk about generally trying to raise capital with a technology that is not as new anymore, but still fairly nascent in its stage of development, where the understanding around it is fairly limited. See, and we established this very early during our conversation, Eddie, that we need to be solving a real problem. The way the stuff that we spoke about, right, that there were 150 odd startups doing exactly the same thing in 2016 with the use of VR and AR at that point in time, So the reason why none of that took off, and today I can sit here and luckily talk about it because I'm still kind of standing here with the company that I started back then, is that nobody had a real use case around the use of technology at that point in time. And I used to be at forums and I used to speak to a lot of people, and I used to tell these guys that a lot of young entrepreneurs at that point in time, the college grads, fresh college grads, and even college students used to come and say, hey, we are trying to do exactly what you're doing with VR, But my point to them was, I'm not trying to push VR as a technology, So we did not go around picking VR and trying to find a problem to solve. We knew what the problem was. And that is the problem that we figured out is going to be best solved by use of immersive technology, whether it is VR, AR, XR, MR, that eventually the shape that technology takes is going to be deciding that. But there was a very real problem, 20 years of personal pain points that were being addressed through use of this particular technology, which had its relevance. And I'm still standing and talking about it because I am absolutely sure, I can bet my life on it, that it has a relevance. So coming back to the question that you asked now, what should a young entrepreneur do? Find a real problem and do not force fit a technology. Force fitting a technology and then trying to find a solution or build a solution around it is never going to work. VCs are very smart to kind of figure out that this is absolutely not working. A lot of things that I've in 20 were very happy to see what we were doing, but nobody was putting in the money beyond a certain point. I mean, we raised our angel round fairly quickly, but after that, it was because it was clearly a services business, and services business does not excite too many people, But it is now that we have been able to create a product and we have been able to democratize the use, and that market that is like construction industry is a $10 trillion industry, and out of this, the product and the design is a $4 trillion subset of that particular industry. Now, there are real problems in that market size that I'm talking about. Go and solve those real problems. And I'm just giving you a construction example because that's the industry I belong to. But same could be with healthcare. Same could be with education. Education is such an exciting field for immersive technology. Healthcare is exciting. Entertainment and gaming, of course, that's where the technology really came out from. So solve a real problem and create a product around it that many people can use, and you don't need to run it, but people can run it themselves. That is what is going to get you the investment. Now let's put a constraint of COVID on this. The point that you made, that in this time, how is the raise going to happen? It's going to be difficult, no doubt. I mean, the measures are also going to be that much more stringent from the teams that come and assess your startup. When a VC starts to assess the business opportunity. But I can assure you, if you're using tech to solve a problem, you will be able to raise money. And at the end of the day, VCs have the money to kind of put in. I have spoken to a lot of them. Our own VCs have told us that, people who have invested in our business. But it is not that, one of them told me that, exceptional businesses are going to get funded. And by exceptional business, it means a real problem, a real solution, and users. If you've got these three, you get the money.
You articulated very well. Exceptional business. In these trying and difficult times, you've got to be different. You've got to cut through. You've got to solve a problem. And if you're solving a problem, I don't think you need to run behind VCs. The VCs will run behind you, right? So tell me. I mean, I'm sure you know about them, Matterport. And I mean, when I heard about them, I thought that there could be synergies between you guys, because right now, the next step of the evolution of virtual reality would be, volumetric video, and Matterport does that. So, can you talk about some partnerships? Are you reaching out to people? Are you looking at partnerships to build your business further?
Yeah, and we've been lucky enough to find a very solid partner in HP. Actually, HP's Future Business Group works with us very closely. Trezi. So all the VR ready kits, that is their laptops and their mixed reality headsets are for the architectural, engineering and construction industry. Anybody who wishes to buy Trezi can actually just go to HP, pick up their hardware, and Trezi would come installed inside of the VR kit and will be sent to the potential user. So, and with HP we have hosted a few events already. We had a event in Delhi where there were about 150 odd architects, top architects of Delhi, who would come in for a panel discussion. Hosted by a leading architect, and there were really eminent architects on the panel. So it was a very exciting event that we did. We are in the process of putting together a webinar with HP now as well, and I'll send you an invite for that. Please do attend.
Please do.
Again, so with the HP, the partnership is really shaped well. There's a lot of knowledge and creation that we do, and we are really hopeful that even the business is going to kind of grow significantly. In fact, one of the event hosted by HP's head of VR worldwide, Joanna Popper. She hosted an event right at the beginning of the lockdown, and there were platforms from across the world that had presented, and Trezi was one of them. So it was kind of late. It was 3 a.m. for us, but we were pretty excited to be there and be presenting along with folks from companies such as Iris VR and The Wild and things. So Trezi had its moment with the international players at that point in time,
Lovely. How cool is that? And it's nice that you're doing these panel discussions and these webinars, because India is such a huge market. I mean, people are just understanding the opportunity that immersive technology presents. The Geo, which is building a VR headset, not just VR and MR headset. They're also building immersive content, because they understand that. That's the future. But somehow I see that there's the industry has not really grasped onto this opportunity which this COVID-19 present. I mean, it's wrong for me to use opportunity as a term at this point in time. But yes, I mean, for virtual reality, we all thought would be that next medium which would drive the conversation when it comes to remote work, remote meeting, remote healthcare, remote education, or whatever. But globally, if you see somehow, I mean, somehow that seems to have been missed, because the platforms who have actually capitalized on it seems to be the 2D platform, which is the Zoom and other platforms. So
you're right.
Yeah, your views on that?
No, I think you're spot on. It's really at times frustrating, if I can use that expression, to see that people just take to things that are immediately available and accessible, and which is, I mean, it's right. It's all right. It's like it's fine to kind of pick up what is immediately accessible, but the thing is, the value that it brings to you vis-a-vis a value that an immersive meeting can bring are two different things altogether. The immersive meeting bit, though, is, it requires 2 or 3 additional steps, right? And typical user experience guys say, hey, it should not be more than 3 steps and blah, blah, blah. And hardware and software, you should be inside what you want to use within 3 steps. But fact of the matter is, when you do want to kind of bring about a paradigm shift, there is a bit of an effort that is required to be put in. And once you put in that effort, you realize that, hey, it's as simple and probably more valuable than what a sort of a dumb technology brought to you, So you're absolutely right. It did not take off the way even I thought it would. But I think the groundwork has been done. It's not that it has gone unnoticed. It is not that people have just kind of totally figured out there's only the Zoom way or there is only the Meet way. People have understood the relevance of an immersive platform, immersive collaboration. And I'm sure as things start to open up, it's not that people are going to be kind of tomorrow going to be in your office and start meeting you. It's going to take time. And from now till the time that the physical meetings are actually going to start happening, I feel that you will start to see a lot more. I mean, like I said, we have started seeing so many downloads and so many trials happening right now that, I feel very encouraged that people will certainly kind of take to it finally.
The road ahead is going to be extremely positive. But, a country of 1.3 billion people, I still see that there's like a huge opportunity over here. What do you think should be done to educate people, raise awareness about this technology and grow India's AR/VR ecosystem?
This is a thought that I keep dabbling with myself. How do we kind of indigenize the VR hardware side of things? I mean, see, people like us, we continue to do our bit in terms of creating the platforms. You've created your platform, I've created mine for our own respective industries. Now, the fact is that we are still going to be dependent from the hardware side of things right now. I feel there's a huge opportunity to be able to build some hardware that is going to support what you and me are trying to push from a content perspective, But unfortunately, I have not seen too many Indian startups coming up with hardware sort of a solution. I saw some in my very, very initial days of, customer discovery and also business problem discovery, but they also, I think, vanished, those startups, So, and now I don't think any Indian startup coming up with the hardware makes any sense at all, given the state of the other hardware where they have reached. So, unfortunately, we will always be sort of burdened by the price point of the hardware. Yes. And that the low cost hardware is not really useful. You would have seen it, and I have seen it too, that, only viewing is fine, but the real beauty of VR is when you're inside the environment and interacting with things. There you need to have the compute power. Then you have to have the frame rates to be able to support you do what you want to do, and those dumbed down versions, like mobile VR has vanished. Why has mobile VR vanished? Because I used to keep challenging people that, hey, listen, mobile VR is not the solution. It is gimmicky, and that's what mobile VR labeled immersive technology gimmicky, unfortunately. Now that it's died its natural death, now we're talking about really serious VR, and there the hardware we will continue to have to deal with till the time the hardware becomes easily accessible at a price point where people do not have to buy it. We will this will, at least on the B2B side of things where we operate, it will have to be a push. On a B2C side, it will still be a struggle. People are not going to just pick up a 30,000-40,000 piece of hardware only on a whim, because it's not just the headset. Then you also have to have the necessary GPU for you to be able to use the HMD with. So we do have a situation on the hardware side. But I believe, and I heard from somewhere that you were trying to solve that issue yourself, right? That rent it as you go, sort of a VR marketplace.
Right. So these are very initial conversations and ideas in place where we're trying to, like, there are
it's
these.
A great idea.
Yeah. So there are these two startups. So I think we're working on hardware. But like you said, the price point seems to be a problem, and the fidelity seems to be a problem. So, but technology is growing on such an exponential space. So I believe that maybe just another couple of years, and when the 5G comes in and things starts getting democratized, where instead of those big bulky headsets, we have these really good quality, high fidelity headsets, maybe which looks like the glasses which I'm wearing, and gives you the same kind of output, So yes, it's going to take some time. Those are the drawbacks, but I'm sure there's some of the top engineers, some of the top companies in the world actually working on solving their problem. So personally, I'm pretty much excited about the AR VR space because that's the reason I've been invested in the space. So tell me, when it comes to the content space, there's globally, obviously, there's some of the top players who are building fantastic content. In India, that's not taken off in such a big space. There have been people who have actually explored AR, VR content, but the drawbacks has been obviously the price points and things like that. So where does India stand according to you when it comes to creating AR, VR content?
I think that's a brilliant question you're asking, Eddie. And I think because this is where I would like to kind of give a lot of encouragement to any Indian startup which wants to kind of come into the VR content or immersive technology content side of things, because I think India is right up there in terms of content creation. And I'm not saying it because of my founder bias here. I will also not kind of make tall claims. I'm just going to state a few examples from my own personal journey. When we were in services mode, we had the opportunity to work with some of the biggest names in terms of creating VR builds for their developers that were coming up with new projects. One was a Chicago-based developer, one was a very large developer in Dubai, and another was there was a project opportunity in Japan. And the reason why these folks came to us, they could have used anybody on the planet. The reason why they came to us was because of the level of the content that we were able to show to them. These guys could have used American companies, European companies, Japanese companies, but they chose to go with us simply because our content was certainly more encouraging and more relevant for them. So India, like I said, India belongs right up there. Now, that was the services side of things. Trezi, last year was the first time we stepped on international soil from a product perspective. So we went to some of the events where competitor products also kind of come and demo, and we demoed right next to these guys. Sentiment as well, embarrassed. Let's get embarrassed in the early part of our journey so that we know what to do and how to sort what's to be sorted out. Out of these events, we actually came back with orders that we were able to close there. They're one of the largest companies, US-based architectural companies, picked up 4 subscriptions during the course of these events, simply because they saw few things that Trezi was doing, which other products weren't. So that is the reason why I say that we, all of us sitting here and thinking that, hey, we will get beaten at the world stage, that is just the worst sort of a thought process you can get into. I think it's a big, wide open race. Nobody's a clear winner right now. So if you're able to get into this race and do meaningful work, you can surely emerge a winner. So I would really encourage anybody who's having any ideas around creating VR content, do the best you can do, and I'm sure you'll be able to win at the global platform.
Yes, there's such a huge opportunity over here, when it comes to content creation. There is obviously Geo who's understood that and who's actually already in the race and trying to create content, they're acquiring content. And yes, there is, eventually I think, the 2D medium is going to die out, making way for the 3D medium, because we have been restricted ourselves for the last 100 years, and this is what has happened. 2D, the evolution of 2D medium has only come till here, right? That's it. It's not going to push any further. But the 3D world, the virtual reality world, is going to be exciting. It's going to be interactive. You're going to feel the the 3D world with the technologies such as haptic feedback and things like that. So the future looks extremely exciting. Like I said, the 5G is going to come in a couple of years, maybe next year or something like that. And there's some of the biggest companies are trying to solve the problem and build good quality AR or VR headset. So what comes next for Trezi?
With Trezi, and at the risk of repeating myself a fair bit, the problem that Trezi intends to solve is a problem that anybody who's in the building industry will be able to identify. So the shape that it's now taking, the multiple user personas that are coming in and starting to use Trezi, I would really like it to be the platform of choice in the next 5 years. So anybody who's out there in the building industry, a product manufacturer who wants to engage with an architect who wishes to engage with a customer who's looking for an architect or a product manufacturer, all they need to do is come on to Trezi and be able to find the solution that they're looking for. And all of that in the manner that you just said, in a manner that is immersive, interactive, engaging. So no more looking at fancy brochures and then realizing, oh, boss, this brochure was very nice, but this guy's work is really crappy. So all the work and everything that's going to be done is going to be done via the digital twins, via being inside those digital twins. So being the platform of choice in the next 5 years is my big vision. And early signs show that if we are able to play this well, if we get good people to back our idea, because right now the journey and the money raised and all of that, while it's nice to hear that we're one of the few startups that has raised capital, but that's also a sad state, because VCs need to understand that this is a $10 trillion industry, out of which you're playing in a $4 trillion opportunity of sorting out where the mess really is, and even if you take 1% of that, you look at the opportunity, $40, $50 billion opportunity you're talking about. And I'm still being conservative, 1%. We talk about working with at least 5 or 6. So, if we are able to kind of get the right people to back us, which can help us expedite the platform creation, I would think there is nothing that will stop us from becoming that platform of choice in the next 5 years.
Lovely. So it was a complete pleasure talking to you, Gautam Tewari. What you've done, what you built over here is extremely commendable. Wish you the very best. And I'm sure all your vision, whatever you're working on will come true because, you've done a great job and you laid the blocks and it's just a matter of time. So wish you the very best. And to my listeners, if you like what we see, please press the subscribe button. Next time, see you guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Gautam.
Thanks, Eddie. It's been lovely speaking to you. Thanks so much. You're doing a great job and we hope to collaborate sometime and see you soon.